So, last night on my Facebook, I asked my friends what WrestleMania I should discuss, review in an upcoming video, and my good friend JC selected WrestleMania 20. That's a great one to review as there's a lot to cover. It was a long 5-hour show, but it was one of the greatest WrestleManias of all time. And let's jump right into it, shall we? I was 16 at the time. I was still at secondary school, the name of which escapes me. But it was fifth year, and it was my least stressful year at school, secondary school. So it was okay, fifth year. But I remember watching WrestleMania 20 live. I think I actually went to school the next day, like a zombie, no doubt. But anyways, let's get right into it. WrestleMania 20 from Madison Square Garden. The last time a WrestleMania was held in Madison Square Garden. And the first match of the night was The Big Show defending his United States Championship against up-and-coming John Cena. This was, and I'm no John Cena fan, but this match was a pretty decent opener to WrestleMania 20. John Cena, when he got the Big Show up in the FU, as it was called at the time, wasn't called Attitude Adjustment. And the crowd popped big for, John Cena FU in the Big Show and picking up the United States Championship. So it was a pretty solid start to WrestleMania. And his rap against the Big Show at the start of the show was pretty funny. Next up was the Raw Tag Team Championship match, or was just known as the World Tag Team Championship match, which saw, I believe, Booker T and Rob Van Dam were champions going in, so they retained their belts here against Garrison Cade, Jindrak, the Dudley Boys, and La Resistance. I can't really remember much from this match. Booker T and Rob Van Dam, I sometimes forget that they even were a tag team. I think they could have been used better at WrestleMania, but not much I can say about this match because I can't really remember it. It was just really a filler match, to be honest. But yeah. Next up was Christian, who defeated Chris Jericho in the third match of the night. These two can put on better matches. This wasn't their finest work. It didn't seem to work, this match. I felt it was a bit rushed. But the storyline going into it was good, and Trish Stratus turning on Chris Jericho at the end and siding with Christian, who Chris Jericho would refer to as the CLB, if you remember that. Creepy little bastard. It was the end with her turning on Jericho was baffling, a wee bit baffling, but it was good. It was good TV. But the match itself wasn't. Those two superstars, wrestlers, could have put on a better match if given more time, I think. Next up was one of my favourite matches of WrestleMania 20 and of WrestleMania in general. It was hilarious. It featured The Rock and Sock Connection against 3 members of Evolution, including Ric Flair, who stole the show during this match. He outshined The Rock during this match, and The Rock was on fire too at some points during this match. It also featured Batista and Randy Orton. Randy Orton and Mick Foley had been feuding for about 6-7 months. I remember the start of the feud that was hilarious to begin with. All started with Ric Flair and Mick Foley arguing over a book or something in the backstage, and then the book got tossed away and started having this hilarious brawl backstage, and then Randy Orton got involved and he punted Mick Foley down the Madison Square Garden stairs, And then Vince McMahon came into the shot, and instead of calling for help, he said, "We need a janitor." And it was just all done so well. See, WWE can be entertaining, and that was one of the times it was. This match, though, had a number of funny skits in the match. Ric Flair's swearing has been muted in some of the, well, my anthology set mutes some of Ric Flair's swearing in the show, which is boo, Just leave it unedited, like it was live, I say. But he was totally on fire in this match. Mick Foley took a sick bump into the steel steps, which he had done before, but this one, when he ran into the steps and he just went over them, steps didn't move an inch. It just sounded like a shot that went off in the arena. It looked nasty. Randy Orton got the pinfall win over Mick Foley with an RKO, and the team of 3 beat the team of 2. And Randy Orton and Mick Foley would then have a singles match at the next month's Backlash, and Randy Orton would again defeat Mick Foley. Next we have Trash, and I'm sorry, but the Tori and Sable versus Stacy Keibler Miss Jackie match was just trash. It's got no business on a wrestling show, even though, a couple of these ladies were very, very hot. Stacy Keibler, for example, my God. If there's someone who could turn any gay guy straight, it's her. Wow. Wow. Moving on to the Cruiserweight Open match. And this was another solid match. It was very exciting, very fast-paced, and a lot of good wrestling went on in this match. It featured Chavo Guerrero, who retained. Chavo Classic, who sadly passed away recently, he was involved in this match. Ultimo Dragon, Shannon Moore, Jamie Noble, Funaki, Nunzio, Billy Kidman, Rey Mysterio, Tajiri, and Akio, I think you pronounce it, I can't remember. Very fast-paced and fun match to watch. Rey Mysterio was very good in this match. He eliminated a few of the contestants. Billy Kidman, he took like a dive off the top turnbuckle, and his head went into Jamie Noble's jaw, and it just all looked gross, in the replay. It looked a sore one for Jamie Noble to take. Ultimo Dragon, of course, another thing that's been edited out, the unedited, supposedly, WWE Anthology was Ultimo Dragon slipping, during his entrance, slipping on the floor, coming in, and then he stumbled on the turnbuckle as well. And before I forget, and I'll get onto this match later on, they also edit out Steve Austin getting hit by the beer can in the anthology set. So, yeah, just leave things like that unedited. It's fun. But yeah, this Cruiserweight Championship match was one of the highlights of the show, without a doubt. Next up, Goldberg versus Brock Lesnar, where it all began again. I can't believe this match is happening at WrestleMania 33, and I love Brock Lesnar, as I've said many times, and I like Goldberg, but this match was one of the worst matches ever. It was. But the atmosphere around it made it special. And it was also a depressing match because, at this time, I was really getting into Brock Lesnar. I was really, enjoying his work. And I thought Goldberg, even though he was sometimes not used properly, I think he was, a great addition to the roster. So when both of these guys left, and Stone Cold Steve Austin left also, just a couple of weeks following as an on-air character, it was like, I was like 3 of my favorites at the time, and I was like, who do I root for now? End up like rooting for Kurt Angle, who's, outstanding performer. But with the departures of Goldberg and Brock Lesnar, specifically Brock Lesnar, who was the face of the company, not just SmackDown, but he was the guy in WWE at the time, and fortunately led to the John Cena era we all love. Yeah, but this match wasn't very good. Steve Austin gave them both stunners at the end, stunned them literally out of the WWE. Brock Lesnar wouldn't be seen in the WWE until the Raw after WrestleMania 28 when he F5'd John Cena. And Goldberg wouldn't be seen until a Raw building up to Survivor Series in his match with Brock Lesnar, in just last year. So they were gone from the company a long time. And yeah. Anyways, Steve Austin was the most over guy in this match. He was the referee. He had retired the year before. But yeah, as a technical standpoint, it was a stinker of a match. But atmosphere-wise, it was one of the most memorable WrestleMania moments for all the wrong reasons, if you will. Next, we have the SmackDown Tag Team Championship match. Rikishi and Scotty 2 Hotty defeated the world's greatest tag team, Charlie Haas and Shelton Benjamin, the Basham Brothers, and the APA. Again, like the previous tag team match, I don't think it got a lot of time. I can't really remember much about it. So I can't really comment. Next, we have the other women's match of the night, if you count Tori and Sable versus Stacy Keibler and Miss Jackie in a Playboy evening gown match as a women's match. This was the second one of the night for the women's title. It was a hair versus title match. But I think the stipulation was hair versus hair. I think if Molly Holly won, Victoria would have got her head shaved. But yeah, it was quite a quick match. It was more about the gimmick of the match than anything really. Victoria retained her title, shaved Molly's head, and yeah, she actually looked better, Molly Holly, if I'm being honest. Next up is the WWE Championship match between defending WWE Champion Eddie Guerrero and Kurt Angle. The promo leading on up to this match was fantastic. When Kurt Angle turned heel, he was such a badass. And he was such a good heel. You wanted him to get his ass kicked at WrestleMania 20. And it was the match itself saw Eddie Guerrero lying, cheating, and stealing his victory over Kurt Angle. He rolled him up and got the pin. It went on for 21 minutes, according to this. It didn't seem like it went on that long, as that, but I preferred their matches later. At the time, I'm going to get a lot of stick for this one, but I didn't really appreciate Eddie Guerrero at the time. It's now, looking back, that I appreciate more, but I've always had a high regard for Kurt Angle, but I don't think this match was as great as the matches they had after it. But the build-up, oh my god, there was part of the promo was when I think, now my memory is getting a bit hazy with these old WrestleManias, but Eddie Guerrero thought Kurt Angle had left the building or was somewhere else completely, and he was in a match with Paul Heyman. That's what it was. He was in a match with Paul Heyman on SmackDown, and Eddie agreed to being handcuffed. He said he could still beat him, being handcuffed, and he would still beat Paul Heyman. And then Kurt Angle came out of nowhere, and he just had a slow walk, this really death look on his face, just staring at Eddie Guerrero, and it was all done very, very well. Eddie Guerrero, he got decked by Kurt Angle, But then he got back up at one point and he spat in the face of Kurt Angle. It was all good drama. It was all done very, very well. And Kurt Angle just took his head off again. And I tell you, the build up to this was done very, very well. And that was one of the moments I remember. And it's like every time I watch it, I thought, damn, this is damn good television. WWE is very underrated sometimes. Next up was the return of The Undertaker taking on the Unmasked Kane in a singles match. The Undertaker was 12-0 at this point. And it also featured the return of Paul Bearer, who's one of the greatest managers of all time. And The Undertaker, you know, he needed Paul Bearer. Paul Bearer helped his character a lot in the early stages of The Undertaker's gimmick. This match wasn't the best match, but it was more for the moment. It was a great moment seeing The Undertaker return to his Undertaker gimmick. He had been playing like American Badass before this. And at Survivor Series, he was buried alive by Kane during his match with Vince McMahon, and that was the end of his biker gimmick. And then at the Royal Rumble, they teased him returning, and Kane got eliminated by Booker T. And then they finally had this match at WrestleMania 20, and it was like a rehash, basically, of their old storyline, of the past, building up to WrestleMania 14. It felt quite similar in ways, and the match wasn't so good as the 14 match, but it was great atmosphere, and to see The Undertaker back, and the crowd absolutely loved The Undertaker. It all done like a Undertaker chant, and he is without doubt the most beloved star of the WrestleManias, Undertaker. Next, we have the main event of the night. The main event WWE wants you to forget. And I can't blame them, to be honest. Chris Benoit, great wrestler, but what he did, or what he supposedly did, was he can't defend that. I'm sorry, he doesn't belong in the Hall of Fame. I'm with WWE on this one. But anyways, if I'm just focusing in on his wrestling character in this match against Triple H and Shawn Michaels, this match was one of the greatest wrestling matches, triple threat matches I've ever seen. It was really, really solid throughout. I think my best spot of the match was when Chris Benoit had Triple H in the sharpshooter, and he was just about to tap out, I think. Then Shawn Michaels came back into the match and delivered what looked like an epic sweet chin music on Chris Benoit. And he sold it really well. It looked really, really painful. And this match, was just outstanding. And give the devil his due, Triple H. A lot of people give him stick, and rightly so, as he buries a lot of talent. But Triple H on that night became the first wrestler to tap out in a main event of WrestleMania. And that was WrestleMania 20. It then ended with Eddie Guerrero and Chris Benoit having a moment together in the ring. And overall, it was one of the best WrestleManias I've seen, and I watched this one live. It was a long show, but it was worth staying up for, definitely. All right, hope you enjoyed my discussion of WrestleMania 20 review. Let me know in the comments below if you would like to see another type of video like this where I'm discussing WrestleMania of the past. Thank you for watching, and hope you enjoyed, JC.